Great. Thanks, Renee, and thanks everybody. Thanks for having me here today. I'm happy to be with y'all. I'm Sarah. I'm coming from Solberg Consulting, and I support people in trauma, understanding, resilience practices. How do we become a little bit more human with one another? That's my main focus of my work. And so today I'm here to share about a program called Story in Process. So this is a trauma-informed storytelling workshop program and series. It started out through as an initiative to address gun-based violence, and now the program has expanded into schools and with youth and service providers to help people start to make a little bit more meaning around their experience and situation. So why storytelling and why story listening? From my experience, part of what I understand that contributes to toxic stress, so the unrelenting, repeated, really tough spirit experiences that people go through, is that repeated experience of feeling unseen and unheard. Our young people especially have experience of being talked over, talked about, talked at, planned about, planned for, planned around, right? And even in our best intentions of planning with, we don't always have the opportunity just to be with people and help people orient back to their own stories and start to make meaning for themselves. So this process, this program, Story in Process, really helps to do that. And our buddy Bessel van der Kolk, he talks a lot about witnessing comes before fixing. And again, this is a program that helps uplift that orientation in a way to build some of that internal relational resilience with the self and with others. One of my favorite parts about this program is that it all happens in the context of reciprocal relationships. So a bit about the program. There's a 3-hour engagement with a mental health professional. LaShonda Sugg from Labors of Love is one of the lead facilitators, also with someone from Bespoken Live. And then there are 5 1-hour follow-up series where young people can continue to hear from one another, continue to craft, and continue to build that community that they've created. And you can see down in this second part of the sentence that all of this happens within the context of a listening participant community where we really build our muscles to what does it mean to be in witness of one another, and an effort to grow and discover meaning, hope, and healing wherever we are on our journey. So it's a 3-part process associated with regulation strategies. We really want to model our awareness of what happens to the nervous system when we get activated. And it's followed from from Pixar's storytelling framework. So folks would be engaged through a process around what starts with an everyday, which is about establishing the stakes of the story. And then comes the until one day, which is the moment after which life was never the same. It's kind of that pivotal moment, that crossroads moment. And this is really the main part of the story that's being told. And lastly, the group is facilitated towards the and now, which is about what you've discovered about yourself, the world, your mission in life as a result of that pivotal moment. Or it could be something where you're asking yourself, you're wrestling with something, you're still sitting with the question that's arose through your storytelling. All of this is guided with the seasoned facilitator. It comes with a journal and journal prompts that kind of hold that process throughout. And this quote from Sue Monk Kidd really, for me, boils it down and really hits the heart. It says, "The truth is, in order to heal, we need to tell our stories and have them witnessed. The story itself becomes a vessel that holds us up, that sustains, that allows us to order our jumbled experiences into meaning." So we do not have the opportunity today to experience this, to get the felt experience of this and pay attention and witness one another. But we are going to take a couple moments here to spend a little time with ourselves and bring that witness lens back into our inner self. So here's what I'm going to invite you to do. You got the email, I think just yesterday, that said, come with the journal, come with the pen or paper. What I didn't say is come with your markers and crayons and colors, but here's your invitation. Get out that piece of paper and that pen and that journal. And these are really non-artistic sketches. So you don't have to be an artist to do this, but I want you to draw first, but you don't have to think too much about it. I want you to draw your little person here. We're going to do a body mandala practice that I learned from Mary Vicario. You might be familiar with focusing practices. You might be familiar with a bit of this, but draw one of these people on your paper, whether you got this little star person or you can do a stick person. Again, don't have to be a big artist. Okay. Take a moment to draw that. And now what we're going to have the opportunity to do, again, is just to spend a little time going going inward. So I'm going to invite you to pull yourself back from the computer. If you are multitasking right now for the next several minutes, I'm going to invite you to not put down that pen and paper and just kind of pull your body back. And if it feels safe, you can lower your gaze. If it feels safe, you can even shut your eyes if that's something that feels accessible to you. But just gonna tune in our listening ears and connect a little bit back to the self. So let's take a couple deep breaths together. Again, feel free to either close your eyes or just lower your gaze. And in this moment, I'm inviting you to take a look at the moment when you realize that the collective trauma of the pandemic would cause life to never be the same again. I'm inviting you to spend a little time with your story, to remember it, to consider it, to run your hands over it and see what kind of power it has. When did you know the pandemic would have a significant impact on you, your relationships, and your work? Was it a moment when something was canceled? Was it a moment when someone close to you became ill? We also know that COVID isn't the only pandemic we've been surviving over the past year and a half. Take a moment to breathe and try to locate one moment from the past year and a half of your life when you knew, despite all that you were up against, despite all the distraction, all the fear, all the pain, try to locate a moment where you could sense some peace. Perhaps a moment of clarity, a moment of affirmation, or a moment of ground, maybe even a moment of joy. Play that moment back through your mind like you're watching a movie. Who was there? Who were you? What time of day and what time of year was it? Can you remember how you felt in that moment? Did you feel happy, connected, weary, strong? Take a moment to see if you can assign an emotion and if you can assign a name to that emotion. Take a breath. And if you had to assign this emotion a color, what color would that be? If you had to assign this emotion a shape and a size, what would that be? Circular, smooth, big, small? Now, as you breathe, where do you notice this emotion in your body as your breath rises and your breath falls? Take a moment to validate this emotion and honor your body and the way it's showing up for you in this emotion. Take a deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, begin to look up, and head straight to that paper, head straight to that body mandala that you drew or that sketch that you drew, and just take a moment to draw in, to color in, to articulate through visual what's showing up in your body right here, right now. After you do that, we're going to take a couple moments here. We're still within our time frame. We're going to take a couple moments to start writing that story, including as many sensory details as you can. That moment, that pivotal moment of hope and peace, and maybe it was fleeting, but start to put some words to paper. And if words aren't your thing, if you're not a writer, just draw, just doodle, right? We think there's value in finding ways to express yourself, pen to paper, no matter how that happens right now. I'm going to turn back up the music, and we'll take a couple minutes to put some words to that paper to center our own story, and then I'll invite you into our next step. So in the chat, you can lift up from your story here. If in the chat you could put an emotion that's swirling around, something that you were able to identify, you can name that in the chat. Or for a stretch, if your story at this point had a title, what would that be? How might you name what's being uncovered right now? And we want to remember that our stories are in process. And finding threads in our stories is one of the most important things about storytelling. It's the way we take agency over the story and choose to cultivate meaning from seemingly disparate or chaotic events. So take a moment and let's put some things in the chat. What emotions are showing up right now? Or again, if you had to title this, what would that title be? Ashley is sharing resolve, determination, hope, connection. Did anybody lean into putting a title here? Hope is us, Susan. Hope is on the horizon. It sounds like a big title. You are enough. Perseverance. As those continue to come in, your invitation for the rest of your week, as you head into your day, as you head into your week, as you go into your work, in your relationships, set an intention right now to turn your gaze, to look for how this spark of hope, resilience, and strength continue to show up in your life. And if you want to hear more about story and process and bring them to your agency, your group, your community, you can find them here on the web. And thanks for showing up today, and thanks for having me.